Who's next? Yeah, what's it? Who's next? Give him a great. Brian in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Great to have you on the program. Hello.
How you doing, Rush? It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Same here, Brian. I'm glad you made it through today.
Thank you for taking my call.
You bet. Anytime.
The reason why I want to call is, first, I'd like to say is that I'm a never Trump guy. I'm a pro-Cruz guy. But I know that you've been taking a lot of heat, especially from us pro-Cruz people. And for a while, I was one of those people who are saying, what's Rush doing? Rush is doing Trump. It was starting to upset me. And then I've been listening for about 10 years, and I started doing exactly what you said, which is you take people at their word. So I started to do the same thing with you. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Trump has brought all this new pizzazz and appeal to politics in general. And if I were you, and I'm always promoting conservatism, I would take that opportunity to promote conservatism to potential voters that may have never even heard thoughts and views on conservatism. Do I guess, have an idea of to where you're going with this? Because I feel that you just take a lot of heat, and I was one of those people that were upset until I started thinking about us conservatives. We already know who we're going to vote for.
Wait. What do you mean I'm taking a lot of heat?
Meaning, like, for instance, yesterday you had a couple callers that were giving you grief. I think it was a gentleman from Texas saying, he had to turn you off a couple times because, he just got tired.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking that if I were you, and I truly believe in conservatism, and as you say, inspiring a generation of voters, that I guess my purpose would be to not to talk to the people who already understand conservatism, believe in it wholeheartedly, maybe those Democrats that are crossing over, to get them to understand. Because
so you think you think that's what I should be doing but haven't been doing?
I think that that's exactly what you've been doing, and rather than myself and other conservatives that were saying, what's Rush doing? I actually took a step back and I figured if I were you and I had, millions of listeners every single day, and my goal is to, promote conservatism, what better way to do it than rather than, the Cruz supporters, they know what conservatism is inside and out. But the new voters that are coming for Trump, explain it to them in a way like that got me, 10 years ago when I first started listening.
That's very insightful of you, Brian. I have to say, it's very. You've been reading between the lines out there. You've been studying it.
And that's another thing. I try to listen to you intently, and I listen to you as pretty much every day. And like I said, I was upset with you for a little while until I started to read in between the lines. And just to the fellow Cruz supporters, the never Trump people, I honestly think that Rush is doing us a great service by informing many more people.
Can I let me jump in because time is dwindling. One of the I'll be honest with you folks. One of the most frustrating things about doing this is that there's 3 hours a day. There's 15 hours a week. And then you add the weeks. It's a lot to expect. I'll admit, it's a lot to expect people to remember things that I say, which is why I repeat them sometimes. Particularly the things that I think are important or the things about which I'm really passionate, I repeat them. And I always beg your indulgence when I do so. There's a thing with the written word. If you read it, you could read the most outrageous thing, but just because it's published, you're going to give it credibility. This is spoken word, which is why, by the way, everything I say here is transcribed and is available at rushlimbaugh.com. On the free side, in most cases, you don't have to cross the paywall. You can go read the transcripts of what I say. You can actually read what I say. And one of the things I said way, way back, and I wish people remembered these things because it would help explain, if you could remember what I said back in October or September or November, it would help you to understand what's going on today. As I say, I realize that is a maybe unrealistic expectation I have. So let me just remind you, When Trump first showed up and this thing that he's doing took off, and people started asking me why I wasn't condemning it, I had a very specific answer that had nothing to do with ideology, had nothing to do with conservatism, liberalism, any ism. It had to do that Trump was demonstrating that all the things Republicans and conservatives fear that makes them shut up, you're seeing you don't have to be afraid of them. You don't have to shut up. There was a great lesson being taught, a great demonstration going on. And that was the original. I'm out of time. I've got to take the break here, folks. But I'll continue this. I know. It's crazy. I'm asking people to remember what I said back in October when very few people even listened to an entire 3 hours to remember what they heard. But that's not your problem, folks. That's mine. And I'll deal with it in my own way. We'll be back. Don't go away.